All right, Joao Fonseca wins Basel, biggest title of his career. The Brazilian gets it done. Heartbreak for Foki again. Another loss in the final for Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, but Joao Fonseca gets the biggest title of his career. And I'm going to talk about in this video, was this a great year for him? There was so much hype at the beginning of the year. Did he live up to it in 2025? We'll also talk about Sinner winning in Vienna and preview the Paris Masters draw at the new stadium. Lots to get into. Let's do it. Welcome to The Slice. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing if you're new. And I'm excited to be back doing a solo show. Haven't done it in a while. It took a little bit of a vacation after the US Open, but we are back in the sack to finish the year strong here. And speaking about finishing the year strong, Joao Fonseca just won Basel, tournament that's very dear to my heart. I was there in 2022 when Felix won it for the first time. But this video will mainly be about Joao Fonseca and the hype that he had at the beginning of the year, and we will talk about has he lived up to it, essentially getting to where he has now. This title definitely helped with his rankings or rankings in relation to where people thought he was going to be at. There was a lot of predictions after Australia. People had him, like credible people on TV, like Brad Gilbert had him as high as being in the next or in the ATP finals, which would be top 8. So Fonseca is now after this win in the top, he's ranked number 28, or he will be ranked number 28, going up 18 spots. So he's in the top 30, which is objectively a great place to end the year. But there was like higher hype than that. And I think that speaks to how crazy the hype train can get in tennis. At the beginning of the year, back in January, I made a video about 4 reasons why Joao Fonseca is going to be a superstar. I'll try to link to that here. And it included the forehand, the look, the fact that he's big. And he is now listed on the ATP website as 6'2". People might not believe that, but he is a big guy, and that's going to help with his power, and his movement will get better as he gets older. We see that in a ton of sports. It's hard to move like the pros do on the top of the ATP tour, especially when you're 19 now. So he's turned 19 in August. But back in that video in January, I said I did not believe he would be top 10 by the end of the year, and he cannot be top 10 by the end of the year. Even if he were to win Paris, wouldn't be quite there. That would be amazing. Yeah, I think he'd be like 13 or 14 in the world. But I did admit that he's going to be a superstar. It's just a matter of time. And I think the pace at which he went through this year, he won in, and we're going to go look through literally all the tournaments. He won in Rio de Janeiro, which was insane because it's South America. And after that, he kind of, like, you're going to look at his results, but he didn't shoot to the top like some people kind of, I would say, naively thought he would, because it's the ATP Tour and it's hard to do. And he's not Carlos Alcaraz. That's a takeaway here. You compare the speed of their ascents in their 18-year-old year, 18 turning 19. Alcaraz won the US Open, became world number 1, essentially when he was, I think, still 18 or just having turned 19. Fonseca is now 19. He's a long way away from that, I would say, but he can definitely get there. But we're going to look back at this year for him and kind of go through it to break down his rankings and the tournaments that he played, because I think it's interesting to look back on, because it has been a fantastic year. So before we go any further, it has been a fantastic year. So he's ranked 28 in the world. Other players like Federer, Djokovic, Alcaraz, at the end of their first full year on tour, meaning they played on the ATP Tour primarily for that whole year, they were ranked either lower than Fonseca or around the same amount. Even Alcaraz, because they count his first full year the year before. It's kind of like his 17, 18-year-old season, because Alcaraz was just stellar younger. So Fonseca's ranking at the end of his first full year on tour is on par with like all the other stars in modern history. So that is something to be aware of. So how did he go through this year? Canberra. He started the year in Australia at a challenger where he ran the table and won. He beat good players like Mackie McDonald, Fernley, Ethan Quinn in the final. So he wins Canberra, and then he goes to Australia and he qualifies. He beats Federico Gomez, and this is so he was started at 145 in the ranking, as you can see there, and he goes to Australia with a ranking of 112. He qualifies. He beats Gomez, Coleman Wong, and Tirante, players that Tirante, veteran ATP player. And then he goes in and beats Andrei Rublev. And this is where the hype train got full steam because of the way he won that match with 3 sets straight, huge forehands, huge shot making. And, rightfully so, people got put into a craze with this kid because look at him, the forehand is going to pay the bills. He made over $1 million on court this year on the ATP tour, so that forehand did pay the bills. But that was the first real shot in the mainstream that people or view of him in the mainstream that people had, and yeah, the hype train got going. So after that, he went from Australia to he lost in the ITF or in the Davis Cup qualifier. But then he went to Buenos Aires in Argentina and won the whole tournament, beating 4 Argentinians, including one in the final, to win. He was the 10th youngest player to win an ATP title. And again, the hype train was just full on going for this guy. And again, rightfully so. So then he continued from there to Buenos Aires. He went to Rio in Brazil where he lost. And I feel like that was just an early little heat check. He was already up to 68 in the rankings, but he came into Brazil like Jesus, like literally Christ the statue. And that's just so much for anyone to handle, especially the young guys or girls on tour. We see it all the time. So hard to live up to the hype, especially when you're at home. But he moved on from there. He beat Fernley in New Wells, then lost to Draper. That's pretty understandable. He went to the Phoenix Challenger after losing there, ran the gamut again, and won it. He beat a bunch of good players: Kontov, Struff, Gaston, Nishikori, Bublik. Unreal. Gets 175 points. His ranking went back up to 80, and then for the next tournament, it was back down to 60. So he goes into Miami there, beats Lerner Tien. I was at that match with my family. That was awesome. And as I reported then, the Brazilian hype train for him was just incredible in Miami. You can imagine all the South Americans there. He was like so hyped, and the match was awesome with him and Lerner Tien, who's another young player who deserves just as much hype as he showed and proved this year. But Fonseca then beat Humbert, and then he lost to Demonauer in the round of 32. Then on to Madrid on the clay, he beat Elmer Moeller, lost to Tommy Paul. Again, not a big shock there. Tommy Paul, top 10, top 12 player. Then he lost in the Challenger to Jesper de Jong. That would have been a tough one for him. And then he lost in the first round on clay or in Rome to Marojan. And then, so, his clay swing there was not great. He had one win one win. He didn't play all the tournaments. He played in Madrid. He didn't play Monte Carlo or Barcelona. I forget if he was dealing with something, but not a huge success there on the clay. Going into Roland Garros, he beats Hurkacz, 28 in the world, Herbert, and then loses to Jack Draper again. Getting 100 points, round of 32 at a Grand Slam. That's a great result for a guy ranked 65 in the world and 18. Then he goes to the grass, loses in the first round of Halle, loses to Fritz in the round of 16 in Eastbourne. And then he goes to Wimbledon, beats Fernley, great win. Brooksby, great player, great win, and loses to Nicholas Jarry, who is super tough on the grass. Sorry, don't have it on the screen there. So going through to Wimbledon, he's still moved from 145 in the world up to or ATP ranking of 54, up to 49, breaks into the top 50, loses in the first round in Canada, then wins 2 matches including against Davidovich Fokina, who retired. He also lost to Atmana in Cincinnati. So he gets to still around that 50 mark, and then he's in the top 50 going to the U.S. Open. He beats Miomir Kecmanovic, loses to Mahac, who's the 22nd seed. Then he wins 2 matches against Greek players, including Stefanos Tsitsipas at the Davis Cup. Pretty good. Laver Cup beats Book Kaboli, and then in Brussels he lost in the first round. So to looking back on it, that seems like a totally predictable and acceptable first year on tour. A lot of those matches were losses to Jack Draper, Taylor Fritz, Tommy Paul, the top names. Like he had a few losses to guys ranked lower than him, but again, he's 18, so everyone has matches that they lose that are to players ranked lower than them. Check out Sinner or Alcaraz this year. So that was a great first year, and he moved from 145 in the world to now 28 in the world. And that, yeah, is objectively a good year. I don't know why some people might think that he wasn't living up to the hype, because there's other players. Like if we go to the rankings, let me see where I believe Leonard Tien might be ranked higher than him. Let me just pull it up. No, he's not. Leonard Tien's ranked 39 in the world, and Joao Fonseca is now 28 in the world. So by the end of the year, Joao Fonseca he's 19. He's no one else higher than him is younger than him. He's the youngest teenager, or is the highest ranked teenager on the ATP tour currently. Leonard Tien's 39 in the world. So for a lot of years, Leonard Tien maybe had some bigger, higher profile wins, but Joao Fonseca was winning matches that, for the most part, that he should have won, and got his ranking up to a great spot, top 30 by the end of the year. So it's an amazing first year for him. And in Basel, he beat Impeshi Pericard, good win. He won the tournament last year. Walked over Mensik. He beat Denis Shapovalov, who retired in the third set. Then he beat Juan Munar, and then he beat Davidovich Fokina, the 8th seed in the final, 6-3, 6-4. That's a great tournament, and that's a pretty big like his parents were there. You saw that he had the pressure on him there to win that match, and he got it done. He wins here in an hour and 25 minutes. Let's look at the stats. 7 aces for Fonseca, 75% first serve one, 46% second serve one. That's good tennis. Winners, 29 winners to 5 unforced errors. That seems unreal. He was hitting the ball to win today. He was playing to win. And that's big time tennis. So he's a superstar. Is he Carlos Alcaraz? No, nobody is. Literally nobody is. But Joao Fonseca has made the strides this year to put him on a trajectory where I think he will be contending for majors in the next few years. And he's going to be at the top of the game for a long time to come, I think. So I don't know. Maybe I'm arguing against nobody, but there seemed to be people who were, calling him overrated or overhyped. I don't think that was really true at any point. Like I did check people who said he was going to be top 10 by the end of the year, but in general, I don't think by most people he was overhyped. I think his game speaks for itself. I think that if you use the eye test, you can see that he is and will be a superstar, and he deserves it. So he gets his first ATP 500 in Basel, and in Vienna, Jannik Sinner wins over Zverev. Very another solid win for him. Alcaraz wasn't there, so not too much to really say, I don't think, on that. But it's very close, 3-set match. Sinner 7-5 in the third, so Zverev played well, seemingly. In the 0-4 shot rally, Sinner actually won that, but in the 5-8 shot rally spread, Zverev won that. So pretty close match. So Zverev's going to feel good, I think, playing on the indoors, going to Paris, and then the ATP finals. ATP finals is coming after Paris, which we have now on the screen, the draw. Still one of the shorter draws that we all love here. And we've got all the big boys except for Novak Djokovic playing. We've got number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz on the top, number 2 seed Jannik Sinner on the bottom, number 3 seed Sasha Zverev there, number 4 seed Taylor Fritz, number 5 seed Ben Shelton on the bottom, number 6 seed De Minaur there, and so on. 7th seed Musetti on the bottom, De Minaur on the top, and 8th seed Ruud there on the top in the Alcaraz quarter. So in the Alcaraz quarter, we've got Nori Baez, wild cards, Rinderknech, and Valentin Vachereau. That's fair enough on the French Federation there. Rinderknech obviously just made the final in Shanghai, and his cousin Valentin Vachereau won the tournament. So I think those are some pretty deserving wild cards. Yuri Lehechka there as well, and so that could be Alcaraz's second opponent after getting a bye in the first round. Felix Auger-Aliassime, our guy. If he's he's in the draw. Looks like I don't have actually any information on his injury yet, but he is scheduled to play Comensana from Argentina, and he could play Casper Ruud in his third match. In Taylor Fritz's quarter, he's got wildcard Atmane. He's got Mute, Opelka, Bublik there. Bublik versus Fritz on a quick indoor court, potentially quick indoor court. No confirmation yet. Could be very interesting. Hachinal, Quinn, Shapovalov unseeded to play Fonseca in the first round. Wow, rematch after in Basel they're playing. So that's going to be a great first round match. Fonseca versus Shapovalov. Griekspoor versus Tiallo, another Canadian. Those guys winner of that would play Demon Hour. Musetti on the bottom half would play the winner of Sonego versus Korda, who is qualified. Impeshi Pericard versus Dimitrov, who returns to the tour. That's going to be fascinating to see the huge serve versus Dimitrov, the vet, who I think would win fairly easily normally because he can return very well with that slice return, but he hasn't played a lot. And Pesci Pericard hasn't won a lot. He just dropped big time in the ranking after losing in Basel, which he won last year. Daniil Medvedev also in that quarter, the 11th seed. Davidovich Fokina, 15th seed, to play Arthur Cazot with the wild card. The Sasha Bergs, that'll be the winner of that will be Sinner's first match. Lerner Tien's in that corner, Kaboli, Mahach. But in general, love the smaller draws. Can't say that enough times. Love the smaller draws. That looks like a Masters to me. Only the Masters are there. It's going to be tight. No Djokovic, but we will see who can win. Alcaraz, number one, Alcaraz. Can he stay? I don't think he can really lose it by the end of the year. But we'll have to wait and see. It's just going to be a great tournament in Paris at a new stadium. It's going to be unreal. Yeah, so that's that. That's the Paris Masters preview before the tournament. Joao Fonseca has an incredible 2025 year, is now big time, and maybe can quiet some of the haters, the overhypers. We can all send up a prayer for Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, who is still feeling the pain. I think 0-5 now in ATP finals. And yeah, Sinner wins another title in Vienna to set him up in some good form for Paris. So we'll see you as tomorrow. We're doing the recording of the podcast with JP. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on the channel.